at 100 there, Anne. I'm going up 99.
Great.
So hello and good morning, everybody. I know there's some people just coming through there, but we'll just start now and then everybody else can join. So thank you so much for coming back to our Rethink 4-week mindfulness series. I see we have some lovely new faces, which is great. If you weren't on last week, I should have by now sent you out a link to the recording. But if I haven't, I'm just going to put my email address into the chat box. So you can send me an email and I'll get that sent across to you. So yeah, I'm so excited to see what Anne has in store for us this morning. It was actually funny because I was listening to a podcast yesterday morning and it really reiterated what you had said last week about the research. If you do up to 8 mindfulness sessions, it can reduce the size of the amygdala in your brain. And as we know, the amygdala is, I suppose, your defense for fight or flight mechanisms related to stress and depression and addictive behaviors. So mindfulness is just so amazing. Like, I can't believe the benefits that it has for increasing your resilience. It really is just amazing. So the same as last week, if you've any questions, we're going to keep a bank throughout. So just continue to write them in the chat box. And then Anne is going to have 10 minutes at the end to go through any questions. If you've any IT concerns or anything like that, I have my lovely colleague, Brian Lee Flem, on this morning. So he can help out with that as well. But yeah, I suppose the reason why we chose 10 o'clock on a Friday was so that it suited a lot of people to take this hour out and have this hour for self-care and to be mindful, I suppose. So like me this morning, I have a lovely cup of tea and I just can't wait to just enjoy it and really be present and be mindful. So I hope everybody else is the same and just really enjoy it. So without further ado, I would love to reintroduce to you then Anne Costello.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shannon. Hi, everybody. I'm delighted that you've joined this morning. And I hope some of you are back for the second time, and welcome to all our new people. And thank you, Shannon, and thank you, Brian, for helping also. So isn't it great? It's Friday and it's some time for yourself at last after, I'm sure, a busy week. And it's just time to just catch up a little bit on thinking about ourselves and thinking about today. It's going to be how the breath can help you deal with stress and anxiety, and looking a little bit at how emotions can sometimes hijack us. And I have some tips to deal with them. So no further ado, let's just go on to the PowerPoint here. Excellent. So the first thing I'd like us to do is just take a moment to pause. And why I picked this little girl is because children are so in touch with their emotions and their feelings. And when they pause, they are actually right in the moment. And I'm always inspired by how beautiful children are in the moment. And we're just going to take that moment now for ourselves. So it'll only last just for a few minutes, just to drop into the body. So just invite you, like we did last week, just to sit upright on your chair. Notice your feet on the floor. Notice your hands on your lap. And just take this moment for yourself. So if you have to turn off your phone, please take a moment to do that, so that you can be really present in this moment. Brilliant. Great. So let's check in with the breath now. So inhaling deeply, just lift your shoulders up towards your ears. and then just exhaling fully. I love to close my eyes because it distracts me from the outside stimulus. So let's try that, just gently closing the eyes. And I want you to take around 5 breaths, just inhaling through the nose and exhaling. Inhaling again. And this time, see, can you just soften down through the collarbones, relax your shoulders down. Inhaling again. And exhaling. And then just inhaling again. And exhaling. Take a moment now to notice any areas of tension that maybe you have noticed in your body. So these areas are different for everybody, but usually the lower back, the lumbar spine holds tension, the tummy region. Up around the shoulders is another area, and across the back. So just take a moment to scan your own body, just to be aware of what's already present. And then the jaw is another region that can become very tight and tense when we're feeling stressed. So there's an invitation here just to relax your lower jaw. Bring your right ear over towards your right shoulder. And just feel into the left-hand side of your neck. And breathe into the muscles on the left of your neck and just come back to center. And bring your left ear over towards your left shoulder. And then again, on the right-hand side of your neck and shoulder, breathe into that region. See, can you soften and release any tension there? And just come back to center now with your head. And now breathe in. As you breathe out, let the chin come down towards the chest. Breathe into the back of the neck. And just soften and release there on the out breath. And then just slowly lift your head back to center. And just take your hands, bring them together in front of your chest. And then just raise them up. Breathe in, just get your energy moving, and breathe out. Take your hands down and around it. And let's do that again. A nice big breath in. And around. Good. And just shake your hands out. And rub them together. Excellent. Great. So let's begin. We're going to look at the power of the breath and how its role in keeping us calm and centered. We're going to look at our emotions, our emotional state, and a little bit of science behind that. And then at the end, I'm going to do a lovely mindful practice that I know Shannon loves called the mountain meditation. And then we'll take questions at the end because it's a very quick hour. We won't feel it passing by. So let's move on. So power of the breath, exploring how our moods can affect our emotions, and tips to help us focus and concentrate, and the mountain meditation. For our new beginners who may not know what mindfulness is, this is a slide from last week, just to recap the fact that we have so much going on in our heads every single day. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts. And out of those, out of 4 thoughts, 3 are negative, research tells us. So that leaves us in a state of anxiety a lot of the time. And we begin to catastrophize or worry about the future or regret what has happened in the past. So believe it or not, almost half the time our mind is wandering. 46.7% of the time, we're not in the present moment. So we can be caught off guard and not realize how much upsetting thoughts or stressful thoughts, especially around now, that has built up in our system. So you can see the wee doggy, he's in the moment here. Mindfulness is about just taking in what's happening here and now. And I suppose the theory around it is if you can deal with this present moment, then you can move on to deal with the next moment. While if you've already thought about the next moment and catastrophized, it takes away from the beauty of this moment that you're in. So what brings us back to the moment is the breath. And let me just discuss that a little bit more for you. The power of the breath. So what happens when we're breathing is we send a message to the brain to calm down and relax. The brain then sends this message to the body. We actually activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming center of the brain. And then, did you know that breathing actually releases 70% of the toxins from our body? So taking nice deep breaths in and long, slow breaths is really important for clearing the toxins out of our system. Now, the physical and emotional benefits of mindful breathing, it reduces stress levels in our body. It lowers our heart rate, lowers our blood pressure, and it helps manage chronic pain by releasing tension. And it also helps regulate the body's reactions to stress and fatigue. So I just finished a pain clinic with people with chronic pain, and they really found the mindfulness really, really helpful. And it got them out of the trap of just focusing on where the pain was to actually revisiting the whole body and realizing that actually there's other parts of my body that work really well. And it trained them to move away, actually, to be aware the pain is there, of course, but to move away from focusing on it the whole time. So, a recent study in the Journal of Neurophysiology stated that several brain regions linked to emotion, attention, and body awareness are activated when we pay attention to the breath. So when I work at schools with little children doing the Pause B programs, you know the way the teacher's always saying, pay attention, and their minds are miles away. And it's kind of the same for us. When we come back to the breathing, we're paying attention to this moment. And that's what the training is about in concentration. And you'll see athletes, and before they're about to take a free or kick a ball, you'll see the way that they pay attention to their body, to this moment. They're grounding their feet, they're taking their long breaths in and out, and then they're visualizing and away they go. So it really directs you back to this moment and takes you out of the stressful thoughts that we know are building up, especially this time of the year and with all that's going on. So I want to do another awareness now with you. It's awareness of the breath. And this one, it's focusing on, I know there is 7-11 breathing, and I was talking to Shannon about it. A lot of people can't do 7-11 breathing. To breathe out for 11 is a pretty long breath for people, especially if we're tense, because if we're tense, our chest is tight, our muscles are tight. So we'll just do an easier, a gentle breathing in for 4, and then just as long as it's a longer out breath. So just sit comfortably where you are now, and we'll try this. You can place your hands on your lap or on your thighs, wherever it's comfortable. And I always like to tell people to sit upright, but not uptight. Because when we slouch, our rib cage just goes in. So just sitting nice. And if you have a little pillow to your back, go to the back of the chair, as long as your feet are touching the floor. So just take a moment now to settle. And then I just want you to breathe in through your nose. Just nice deep inhale, and then just a gentle and long out breath. So to help you concentrate, just notice the breath at the back of the nostrils as you breathe in again. And then exhale completely. Nice, slow, long out breath. So don't feel tense or anyway tight about this. We're just going to do 10 breaths of just breathing in, and you're just going to come to your own rhythm, a longer out breath. So let's try that. You can count the 10 on your fingers yourself. Just feeling the tummy expand like a balloon as you breathe in. You can even place your hands on your tummy if you like. Notice if your mind has wandered and just bring it back to the breath. If you've finished, just come back to normal breathing. Very good. So I'd like you to give a comment if you would, or anybody, and how you feel after that, if you want to put it in the chat box. How do you feel after doing that?
You have a lot of relaxed, less intense, sleepy, very calm.
Yes, okay. Excellent. So what the research says works. We are activating the calming centers. The problem is in our lives, we don't do enough of this because we get caught on autopilot. On the to-do lists are more important. So we do that, and I'm the exact same. Before I discovered the importance of stepping out and stepping back from the to-do list, because our to-do list, especially this time of the year now, can be really overwhelming, and it will begin towards Christmas to begin to get harder, and we'll have more things on our to-do list, and we'll work way into the evening. We need to rest and restore the body and the brain. So you can integrate this into your daily life. You don't have to wait till, nighttime. You can do this at any point. If you're sitting in the car or on the bus, or if you go to the park and you're sitting down and you just want to do some deeper breathing, you can also do it before you open up your computer in the morning, just to get your headspace right and to get into the space where you feel need to be calm, and that's going to help your concentration and your focus. Good stuff. So this is now about our emotions and looking at how our emotions work. And I'll be doing more on stress next week, but just want to click in to just show you that we have all these different parts of the brain, and we discussed it last week, how we found that out through the neuroimaging. The frontal part is our prefrontal cortex. That's where we make all our rational thinking, our logical thinking, and it's the CEO. This is where we go. When we're nice and calm, we can make really good rational and logical decisions. But guess what? The emotional brain is 5 times more powerful. And this area is called the amygdala. So when we're not in that center place, what we call the zone of tolerance, where we're not in the center, where we are both calm and emotionally rational. Once we get out of there, the emotional brain brings us into fight or flight and takes us into stress. And it's good to know that you are not the problem. It's toxic chemicals that are coming into your brain. So if you could think about it that way, that when you're feeling angry and irrational and upset and mean, it's a toxic chemical called cortisol and adrenaline that have come into your brain and hijacked it. So it's called the amygdala hijack. But when we use our breathing, we can actually bring ourselves back to that state of calm. And then we begin to think more rationally. That's why that take 10, I don't know if you've heard of take 10, that's a good thing, to just stop and take 10 breaths. So that's just a peek into what's happening in the brain. And let me just talk a little bit more about our emotional needs. And these are 5 of our main emotional needs that we need to have met. And if we don't get these met, we can get very angry and upset and depressed and anxious. So one of the needs is, excuse me, hold on there. I feel a level of control over our lives. And I suppose that has been the hardest thing right now, hasn't it? Not knowing where things are going, not knowing how our job might work out. Will we have a job? We worry about our families. And there's that sense of not having control. And then the need for attachment, teamwork, friendship, and intimacy. That's also been affected, although we're doing a great job with Zoom. I find that when you've the camera on and we can actually see each other, that motor neuron from eye to eye, that connection is still there. And I have met so many fabulous people through my mindfulness through Zoom since last May. So, but we all know, and when I was at the school yesterday doing mindfulness, the little children were saying, missing, they were missing their grannies and missing not to get to see their friends. And it's tough going. So we also need a need for status and respect and being acknowledged. And also when we are achieving our goals, there's that sense of confidence and achievement. And when life has meaning and purpose. So when our needs are not met, we can feel stressed and angry and anxious and guilty and overwhelmed and depressed and sad and panicked. And maybe there are a few more emotional feelings that other people have that want to put in the chat box that you are feeling right now.
Suppose there's more awareness and more consciousness, but also quite emotional.
Yeah. We're feeling emotional.
Maybe that is because we're more conscious of our emotions.
Pardon?
Maybe that is because we're becoming more aware of our emotions when we're practicing mindfulness.
Yeah, it's wonderful that we are becoming more aware of our emotions because we're stopping to notice. And, emotions get trapped in our body. Does anybody know any big emotional centers in our body? If you want to put it in the chat, there are certain emotional areas more than others in our body.
I suppose the stomach and solar plexus there.
That's right, yeah. There's 100 million emotional cells in our tummy.
We have the hips.
Huh?
Hips and the shoulders as well.
Yeah, hips. There's a lot of anger in the hips, they say. Shoulders, stress. Sometimes we feel we have the weight of the world in our shoulders. And the heart is a big emotional center. When the heart waves begin to really go rapid and we feel like we're going to have a panic attack, that's another big emotional center. So the beauty about mindfulness is no medication. All you have to do is become aware of what's happening and become aware of times like this when our needs are not met and we can feel these, it's very hard to know what has gone wrong. Like it could just be that somebody says an angry word or a clipped tone can, when we're emotionally aroused, when we're out of the comfort, the calm center, we could have, a demanding person could just set us off, or a perceived criticism, or just feeling overwhelmed with lack of sleep. All of these things can really just put us into feeling overwhelmed and angry. Is anybody relating to what I'm saying? Do you feel that this happens to you, especially when we're at home with the children, and lots of us are at home with children trying to manage everything? That sometimes you're hyper aroused.
There's a lot of people writing in saying that they totally relate to that, very much so.
Yeah. So if I could say to you that there is nothing wrong with you, that this is a normal feeling that we are all feeling. These are emotions, as John Kabat-Zinn says, to be embraced actually and encountered. This is normal. And it's a kind of, again, the amygdala. I have this book, I don't know if anybody's heard of it, the Chimp Paradox, the Mind Management by Professor Steve Peters. It's a brilliant book on how we get hijacked with our emotions and we think it's us. But in actual fact, we can contain that. And mindfulness is one of the great tools for that, for bringing you back to this present moment, calming down your whole centers through your breathing and through some positivity and visualization. And I know people have other tools as well, but it is a great tool, first of all, for calming yourself down and just getting a proper perspective, stepping back. So instead of reacting, we're responding. But I'll go into that more next week. Right now, I want to take you onto the mountain meditation. I want to do this with you, and I think you love it. It's going to take us a good 10 to 15 minutes. So just prepare yourself for that time. And we do know the benefits of being out in nature. And this is a visualization which will help us just to step out of anxiety and just to come into another place in our minds and in our bodies. So if you're ready, we will begin. Just invite you just to make sure that the body is ready. You're sitting upright and uptight, but not uptight. But remember, you can also alternatively if you have back pain or whatever, and if upright is not suitable for you, you can sit on a nice sofa. You know what I mean? Don't take this literally. So just sitting still now, with the straight back if possible, your head erect over your neck and shoulders. Allow the shoulders to fully relax. So placing your hands on your thighs or your lap, close your eyes and bring your attention to the flow of your breathing. Feeling each in-breath and each out-breath. And just observing your breathing without trying to change it or regulate it in any way. Allowing the body to be still. And as you sit here, picturing in your mind's eye, as best you can, the most beautiful mountain that you know or have seen or can imagine. Just holding the image and feeling of this mountain in your mind's eye, letting it gradually come into greater focus. Observing its overall shape, its lofty peak high in the sky, the large base rooted in the rock of the Earth's crust, its steep or gently sloping sides. Noticing how massive it is, how solid, how unmoving, how beautiful from both afar and up close. Perhaps your mountain has one prominent peak, perhaps a series of peaks or a high plateau. Whatever its shape or appearance, just sit and breathe with the image of this mountain, observing it, noticing its qualities. And when you feel ready, seeing if you can bring the mountain into your own body so that the body sitting here and the mountain in your mind's eye become one. So that as you sit here, you share in the massiveness and the stillness and majesty of the mountain. You become the mountain, rooted in the sitting posture. Your head becomes the lofty peak, supported by the rest of the body. Your shoulders and arms, the sides of the mountain. Your buttocks and legs, the solid base, rooted to your chair. Experiencing your body, in your body, a sense of uplift from deep within your pelvis and spine. With each breath as you continue sitting, becoming a little more a breathing mountain, unwavering in your stillness. Becoming completely what you are, beyond words and thoughts. A centered, rooted, unmoving presence. Now, as you sit here, becoming aware of the fact that as the sun travels across the sky, the light and shadows and colors are changing virtually moment by moment. Night follows day and day follows night. Through it all, the mountain just sits. It remains still as the seasons flow one into the other and as the weather changes moment by moment and day by day. Calmness abiding all change. In autumn, the mountain may wear a coat of brilliant fire colors. In winter, a blanket of snow and ice. In any season, it may find itself at times enshrouded in clouds or fog or pelted by freezing rain. None of this matters to the mountain, which remains at all times its essential self. Clouds may come and clouds may go. The mountain's magnificence and beauty are not changed one bit by the way people see it or by the weather. Seen or unseen, in sun or clouds, broiling or frigid, day or night, it just sits being itself. And in the same way as we sit in meditation, we can learn to experience the mountain. We can embody the same unwavering stillness and rootedness in the face of everything that changes in our lives over seconds, over hours, over years. In our lives and in our meditation practice, we constantly experience the changing nature of mind and body and of the outer world. We have our own periods of light and darkness, our moments of color and our moments of drabness. Certainly, we experience storms of varying intensity and violence in the outer world and in our minds and bodies. We endure periods of darkness and pain, as well as the moments of joy. Even our appearance changes constantly, experiencing a weather of its own. By becoming the mountain in our meditation practice, we can link up with its strength and stability and adopt it for our own. We can use its energies to support our energy, to encounter each moment with mindfulness and clarity. It may help us to see that our thoughts and feelings, our preoccupations, our emotional storms and crises, even the things that happen to us, are very much like the weather on the mountain. We tend to take it all personally, but its strongest characteristic is impersonal. The weather of our own lives is not to be ignored or denied. It is to be encountered, honored, felt, known for what it is, and held in awareness. And in holding it in this way, we come to know a deeper silence and stillness and wisdom. Mountains have this to teach us and much more if we can come to listen. So if you find that this mountain practice resonates with you in some way, with the strength and stability of the mountain in your sitting, it may be helpful to use it from time to time in your meditation practice. So now as we come to the end of this mountain meditation, I just invite you to slowly open your eyes and again, just to stretch your hands up, feeling strong and centered and focused and calm, and then bring your hands back down. Thank you. So maybe as it's Friday and coming to the weekend, you might find that you are motivated to go on a hike or a mountain area or a hill, at least out in nature, so that you can, people say, has anybody any experiences of what happens to them, how they feel when they get to the top of a mountain, just even a small one? Or is there any mountain climbers or hill climbers with us or walkers, hill walkers?
We're actually getting a lot of comments and saying, yeah, it was such a lovely mindfulness practice. They felt amazing, very free and connected to nature.
That's super. Yeah.
I can vouch for that. I think I just love it.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote here that was mind blowing. Stillness will be sea swimming. Sea swimming, isn't it?
Excellent. I've just started sea swimming last Sunday. So I'm out again this Sunday. So little baby steps. It's probably not a good time of the year. But, you know, I have to say, before I had mindfulness, I didn't really appreciate nature as much as I should have. Walking and thinking and worrying, but now I'm completely into the beauty and the stillness. And now that I know the effects, and then with the breath, like we've a really good chance of getting through everything if we just do these simple practices. Really get through it. So just getting back to our practices, if you can keep up your mindful walking, mindfulness in nature of our senses, and then adding on the 411 breathing, and then just, adding in times of stillness that don't feel, oh, you have to do something. I just want you to come off autopilot, wherever it is, a cup of tea in the backyard, just on your sofa, just times of stillness where you're not connected to your phone, you're not connected to a laptop, and you're not connected to the TV. Does anybody have any suggestions of things that do that take them away from this interconnectedness we have with social media? What do people like to do for their downtime? What do they like to do?
We have a lot of exercise things: gardening, walking, sewing, cleaning, petting the dog, walking the dog.
Excellent.
Yeah. A lot of different stuff as well, listening to death metal, bodyboarding, walking on the beach. Everyone's different. So I love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The big thing is you're taking time out. And do you find when you come back, it's like, whoa, the worry that I had, it just seems, not that it's dissipated, but you're now looking at it in a clearer way. There's science behind that. When we're out in nature, when we're in touch with our bodies and our emotions, and when we offer ourselves some compassion, that we are actually doing the best we can right now, and you're bringing great joy into your life, and you're influencing everybody around you. Well done. So the body scan, I think you've sent that out, Shannon. It's also on my website. The body scan is just a fabulous way to check in with your body at nighttime, and you're doing your breathing, and you're checking in, and you're letting go of tension. And then that's just a book. If anybody's into reading, that's a book I would recommend if you want to look more into the brain, what happens in the different parts of the brain, and how we get hijacked by our amygdala. It's very good to have knowledge on that. And do you have any questions?
We have loads of questions today, Anne, which is great. I suppose one of the first questions, if we go back to your slide about the body's toxins, so mindful breathing relaxes 70% of the body's toxins. And someone just wants to know what type of toxins, or what are those toxins?
What are those toxins in the body? Well, carbon dioxide. I mean, that's the big one where, the intersection of the breath, the lungs, and then you've got the oxygen coming in, and then you're releasing out the carbon dioxide. But let me see, that's a very good question. There's no point in me saying, although I'm a nurse and I love all that, I know exactly what the toxins are. I know that toxins are deleted from your skin, and I know that the other 30% is your kidneys as well, releases toxins from your body. But I'm going to look into what they are, because I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what they are.
I know you talked about cortisol and adrenaline earlier, but I'm not sure, would that be a release as well, slightly?
Yeah, well, it's bringing down they would be, that's very good. Yeah. So you're bringing down the parasympathetic nervous system is activating what's called serotonin and the relaxing hormones. So they're coming in, and then I suppose you're right, the adrenaline and the cortisol is leaving. So there would be two very powerful toxins, adrenaline and cortisol. Make your heart rate, of course, we need some adrenaline, but we don't need as much as gets into our system by constantly worrying. So there would be two of the main ones, the adrenaline, the cortisol, and then the normal toxins that are carried around through carbon dioxide in your body.
Perfect. Thank you, Jan. Another one, whenever I start to breathe deeply, I tend to suck in my stomach to start off with, and then has to correct themselves. Does that happen to everybody? They're asking, is there any tips that you can have regarding that?
Yeah, well, if you want to start lying on a bed or the sofa, first of all, because you kind of restrict it sometimes with your tummy, and then you're lying just down straight, and then place your hands on your tummy and see, can you just soften, not to hold tight there, breathing in through your nose, your diaphragm pushes down, and then your tummy should just come out a little bit like a little balloon. But oftentimes, because we hold so much tension in our tummies, and if you ever watch a baby breathing, they're breathing through their tummies. But as we get older, we tend to breathe up here. We're so rushed and tight. We're on that fight or flight mode. So it takes a while. So just don't worry about it if your belly barely moves. As you begin to soften, it will move and relax, and the breath, and because you'll be taking deeper breaths, we're taking little shorter breaths, our tummy barely moves. So we have all those lobes down at our lower back and side. We need to get into them. So nice deep breaths in on your back, and eventually, once you start getting deeper breaths in, you'll notice more air going into your lungs and your tummy. But I wouldn't get fixated on it. Don't get fixated on doing it right.
Yeah.
The thing is that you're taking time out of thinking and into the body to check in.
Thank you, Jan. So for chronic pain, is it a matter of breathing out the pain, or how does that work? And how does it manage the chronic pain as such?
Okay, so what you do is when we have chronic pain, let's say the back of our neck, we're inclined to focus on that completely. And what happens is there is an emotional arousal, and people think of, why me? Why did that happen? How am I going to be, I know a friend of mine, she wasn't able to drive her car. I can't turn my neck. This is ruining my life. It's not just the pain, it is the emotional talk around the pain that keeps us caught in this circle of stress and anxiety. So what mindfulness does is brings awareness to the emotional element. So you have your pain, then you have the emotional element that we put on top of the pain. So if we can separate them and say, okay, I've got some pain here, okay, but everything else works. My feet work. I can see, I can move. I'm aware of it and I have compassion about it, but it's not going to control my whole day or my life. So you begin to see the emotional baggage that we have around pain. So that's kind of how it works. And then there's a lot of breathing in, calming down the muscles or whatever it is, and working with self-compassion and empathy. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Anne. So there's actually a person here, they just couldn't engage with the mountain exercise, and they were wondering if you had any suggestions for something similar.
Yes, well, that is a long one. If you're not used to just paying attention to that amount of time, you can easily drift off. Can I send you some, Shannon?
Of course you can, yeah, and I'll send it, yeah.
I'll send you some shorter ones.
Okay. So someone actually just wants to let you know, are you aware of the book Lost Connections? They recommend that book as well.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I haven't heard that one. Lost Connections, great. Does they have an author?
God, I've read it before and I can't remember the author, but it is brilliant. It's a brilliant book. Do you have any recommendations for podcasts?
Yes, I just actually, yes, I will get you some podcasts, but I just have, to get you going on maybe some meditation apps, Headspace and Inside Timer. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Brilliant, yeah.
The woman I absolutely love, can you put it in the chat? Tara Brach.
T-A-R-A.
Yeah.
B-R-A-C-H.
B-R-A-C-H.
Yeah, brilliant.
once you go into, I think it's our Instagram feed, then all of these other mindfulness teachers appear on the screen.
I actually listened to a podcast. It's Sinead Dihora. She's from Ireland and she talks a lot about mindfulness and she's brilliant as well. It's a good one. There's a person here, Anne, is asking, what would you suggest for coming out of a panic attack?
For coming out of a panic attack?
Yeah.
Very much like anything that we were doing there in the line of just slowing down your breathing. You may want to put a hand on your chest and a hand on your tummy. And I mean, panic attacks are extremely, extremely scary and difficult. So you need to find ways to nourish yourself after that. Definitely would recommend being out in nature as much as possible. But for that moment when you're in it, just to lie down, one hand on your tummy, one hand on your chest, and just focus on the breath. And even worse, like, I'm going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine. And just do your slow breathing.
Because someone just actually asked on top of that, when you feel overwhelmed and panicked and you're just finding it far too difficult to focus on the breath, what techniques could you use? And I suppose, as you say, just affirming to yourself that you're going to be okay and that you're going to get through this.
Yeah. And lots of people say that to me. I'm so stressed. I say, go out in nature, mindful walking. So you're walking to it, or there were some great tips there about, get on your bike or, go for a swim or do something physical.
I think it's in a situation that you can't get out of, that most people are talking about. Say you're in work and you can't get out of that situation.
Get up, go to the bathroom, splash cold water on your face, drink some water, make yourself a cup of tea, get up and move, because you've so much tension in your body that it's just really, really hard if you're staying. I mean, everybody has access to, even if you're work, you can go outside the door for a little bit.
Yeah.
Do your breathing, calm yourself down, and try and put it in perspective. Sometimes our emotional hijack can be just so, you need to put it in perspective. I've been through hard times. I can do this again. I can handle this. And just talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations as a starting point for child athletes to help with mindfulness?
No, I'm only laughing because I coach children in sport. Try and get them into there's a Pause B program. I'm sure, a lot of schools have that right now. It's called Pause B. But the main thing is that this is what I do with the children, and I think I did it last week, is the hand meditation. Because like that, children, their brains aren't fully formed till they're 25. So their attention isn't great. So you have to work with them by actually having a visual. And I don't know, do you remember this from last week? Mm-hmm. Meditation. So you can Google the hand meditation. That's one way to get them just to, if they're anxious or they're, if it's, if it's a single competition. Is this an athlete what's the sport?
I'm not sure. It doesn't actually say.
Yeah.
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics, yeah. If she wants to contact me afterwards, we can talk about it some more if she likes.
No worries. I see
email.
Thank you. I see Brian. Brian is writing in a lot of cracks in the neck and find myself trying to crack the neck. Is there any suggestions to try and release the tension there?
Yeah. Listen, that's interesting because I'm doing a workshop on posture awareness, and I know all about strain in the neck when you're sitting down all the time, and maybe your chair isn't right, maybe your laptop, the ergonomics of sitting is phenomenally, and we lean in like that to the computer, which completely puts our back muscles and back out in distress. So I would say, Brian, just watch your posture. Sitting at the computer, and get up every hour. Put a little thing on your phone. And when you're up and walking around every hour, do your mindful breathing. Get yourself centered again and get yourself into that calm zone again. So it's all working together.
I just apologize. It wasn't actually Brian that wrote that in.
Or was it not?
Reminded me that it was a question.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
So, yeah, the sitting is the new, unfortunately, people are getting heart attacks and getting very, very, it's like a stationary life, just sitting all the time. So we need to get up and get active. And that all goes with our health and well-being strategy.
It's nearly setting timers. I have my watch and it'll go off move every so often because you just get caught up in work and you just, time goes by so quick. You could be sitting for 3 hours.
Yeah, and our breathing capacity is affected as our shoulders come round. So definitely, all this plays into good mental health and good physical health.
And is there anything you can wear to help posture and to try and support you sitting upright? Is there any?
I think the best thing is a strong core myself. I mean, you look on Google it and they've all sorts of straps across your back and all of that. But if you have your posture, shoulders back and down, and work on your core, even walking is great. Little hills and for your core, that's what keeps your body upright, is the muscles of your stomach and the muscles of your back. But just standing up, bring your hands behind your back, and a nice stretch with your shoulders back and down. But I don't know of any gadget. I wouldn't recommend any gadget for it. Although sometimes I would love something, but no. A pillow into your lower back, and that keeps the lumbar spine, that nice arch, and then shoulders back and down and up straight. That's the best, and to train your body to sit like that.
Yeah, I know everybody's different. Someone just commented saying that Banner has supports which are actually £1 10p, and that they highly recommend them. So maybe that's
all right. Okay.
Yeah. I know we're just tight on time. We've a minute left, so we'll just go over one more question. Well, it was more a comment. They are spending a lot of time, obviously, at home alone at the minute, and they're finding it really hard to concentrate and to do mindfulness when they're bored.
Yeah, I know what you mean when you're just feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you couldn't be bothered. I know those feelings. It's difficult, but first of all, we have to tackle why that's happening. And maybe there are some small goals that you could meet to just, tackle what's actually going on underneath that. Why is it that you're feeling that way? Because people just think, oh, I'm just going to breathe, and suddenly they find themselves like they want to sleep. It's about bringing yourself to this moment, and the breath is the easiest thing to do. But there are so many other things that you can do as well. We won't have time to go through them all because we have only 4 weeks. But the mindful walking, did we do mindful eating yet?
No, but it will be great.
We will do that next week then. And, I would say, ask yourself, why do I need to be motivated here? Mm-hmm. Explore what emotions you're going through, and just dig in a little bit to see where it's coming from. And journaling is always a good way to find. But if you can get active, if you check what your sleep is, your nutrition, and get active, they will help you, just bring you out. Maybe there's something that's happening. So just explore what's going on.
And thank you so much for that wonderful session again this morning.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks for all the questions. You keep on the ball too.
Yeah, no, thank you everybody for your participation. That is wonderful. And thank you to Brian behind the scenes. Brian is the IT guy. He does all that. Me and Anne wouldn't have a clue. So thank you so much. Do you want to go over what you will be doing next week, Anne? Or have you even, maybe it's not organized?
No, it is. It's about basically more about stress and stress reactivity and dealing with it. And we'll do our mindful eating. We just have the hours, so we don't want to go in. This is just the introduction to mindfulness.
Would you recommend then everybody having a piece of food ready for next week?
Yeah. A little piece of an orange or an apple or a little biscuit or a little sweet. So whatever your treat is. And we go through mindful eating. And it's really powerful.
Perfect. So thank you everybody for joining us again, and hopefully we will see you next week. Email me if you have any questions or any concerns, or if you want any of the recordings, and I can get that across to you. So Anne, thank you again. Your star.
My pleasure. Thank you.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.